I was sitting in my cozy living room, sipping my morning coffee and staring out the window. It was a peaceful morning, with the sun shining through the blinds and a gentle breeze rustling the leaves of the trees outside. I was lost in thought, thinking about my life and how it had turned out. I had worked hard my whole life, and I had finally achieved my goal of becoming a successful businessman. I had made a fortune, and I had invested it wisely. I had a beautiful house, a loving wife, and a son who, well, that was a different story. My son, Alex, had always been a bit of a disappointment to me. He had never been interested in my business, and he had never shown any ambition. He had dropped out of college and had been working dead-end jobs ever since. I had tried to help him, I had given him money and advice, but he had never listened. He had always been rebellious, always doing the opposite of what I wanted him to do. And then, 15 years ago, he had stopped talking to me altogether. I had no idea why, but I had assumed it was because of our disagreements about his life choices. But now, out of the blue, he was standing in my living room, demanding my house and inheritance. I was shocked, I was angry, and I was hurt. How could he do this to me? I had given him everything, and this was how he repaid me? You're hiding $1 million from me? I want this house, Dad, he shouted, his face red with anger. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My son, who had ignored me for 15 years, was now demanding my house and inheritance. I felt a surge of anger and betrayal, but I kept my cool. I had been expecting this, and I had prepared for it. I'm not hiding anything from you, Alex, I said calmly. But I do have a surprise for you. A surprise that will change everything. Alex looked at me suspiciously, but he didn't say anything. He just stood there, waiting for me to continue. You see, Alex, I said, I've been watching you. I've been watching you for years, and I've seen how you've been living your life. You've been making poor choices, you've been wasting your potential, and you've been hurting the people around you. And I've had enough. Alex looked at me defiantly, but I could see the fear in his eyes. He knew he was in trouble. I've decided to leave my house and inheritance to someone else, I said, watching Alex's face fall. Someone who deserves it, someone who will appreciate it. Alex looked like he had been punched in the gut. He stumbled backwards, his eyes wide with shock and anger. Who, he demanded. Who are you leaving it to? I smiled, a sly smile. That's the surprise, I said. And you'll just have to wait and see. Alex's face turned red with rage as he stumbled backwards, his eyes fixed on me with a mixture of shock and anger. Who, he demanded again, his voice rising to a shout. Who are you leaving it to? I just smiled, a sly smile, and leaned back in my chair. I was enjoying this, enjoying the look of shock and anger on Alex's face. He had no idea what was coming, no idea what I had planned. You'll just have to wait and see, I said, my voice calm and even. Alex took a step forward, his fists clenched at his sides. I don't have to wait, he said, his voice low and menacing. I can just take it. I can just take everything you've got. I raised an eyebrow, a look of surprise on my face. Oh, really? I said. And how do you plan on doing that? Alex sneered at me, a look of contempt on his face. I'll just go to the courts, he said. I'll just tell them that you're crazy, that you're not in your right mind. I'll get a judge to declare you incompetent, and then I'll get everything. I laughed, a cold, hard laugh. You think that's going to work? I said. You think a judge is going to declare me incompetent just because you say so? Alex nodded, a look of confidence on his face. Yes, I do, he said. I've got proof. I've got proof that you're not in your right mind. I raised an eyebrow, a look of interest on my face. Oh, really? I said. And what kind of proof do you have? Alex smiled, a smug smile. I've got recordings, he said. I've got recordings of you talking to yourself, of you saying crazy things. I've got recordings of you being paranoid and delusional. I laughed again, a cold, hard laugh. Those recordings are going to be very interesting, I said. Very interesting indeed. Alex's smile faltered, and he took a step back. He looked uncertain, unsure of himself. "What do you mean?" he said. I leaned forward, my eyes locked on Alex's. "I mean that those recordings are going to show something very different," I said. "Something that's going to surprise you, something that's going to change everything." Alex looked confused, unsure of what to do. He looked like he was trying to process what I had just said, trying to understand what was going on. And then, suddenly, the doorbell rang. Alex looked up, a look of surprise on his face. "Who's that?" he said. I smiled, a sly smile. "I think it's someone you know," I said. "Someone who's going to change everything." The doorbell rang again, and Alex's eyes narrowed. He looked suspicious, unsure of what was going on. "Who is it?" he demanded. I just smiled, a sly smile. "I think you should go and find out," I said. Alex hesitated for a moment, and then he turned and walked towards the door. He opened it, and a figure stood in the doorway. It was a woman with long, curly hair and a bright smile. She was dressed in a business suit, and she looked confident and self-assured. "Hi," she said, looking at Alex. "I'm so glad I caught you. I've been looking all over for you." Alex looked surprised, unsure of what to say. He looked like he was trying to process what was happening, trying to understand who this woman was and what she wanted. "Who are you?" he said finally. The woman smiled, a bright smile. "I'm someone who's been watching you," she said. "I'm someone who's been waiting for you." Alex looked confused, unsure of what to do. He looked like he was trying to process what was happening, trying to understand what this woman wanted. And then, suddenly, she stepped forward, her eyes locked on Alex's. "I'm here to take you away," she said. "I'm here to take you away from all this." Alex's eyes widened, a look of shock on his face. He looked like he was trying to process what was happening, trying to understand what this woman wanted. And then, suddenly, everything went black. Alex stumbled backwards, his eyes wide with shock and fear. "What's going on?" he demanded, trying to regain his composure. The woman smiled again, her eyes glinting with a knowing light. "You're coming with me, Alex," she said. "You're coming with me, and you're not going to like it." I watched with interest as Alex tried to struggle, tried to resist. But the woman was too strong, too confident. She reached out and grabbed his arm, pulling him towards her. "No," Alex shouted, trying to break free. "I won't go with you." But it was too late. The woman had already pulled him out of the room, out of the house. I heard the sound of a car engine starting, the sound of tires screeching as they drove away. I smiled to myself, feeling a sense of satisfaction. This was going exactly as I had planned. I walked over to the window and looked out, watching as the car disappeared into the distance. I knew that Alex was in for a surprise that would change everything. I turned away from the window and walked back over to my chair, sitting down with a sense of relief. It was finally over, finally done. I had taken care of the problem, had taken care of Alex. But as I sat there, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Something didn't feel right. I looked around the room, trying to put my finger on it. And then I saw the piece of paper on the floor. It was a note that Alex must have dropped when he was struggling with the woman. I picked it up and read it, my eyes widening as I realized what it said. "Meet me at the old warehouse at midnight," it read. "Come alone." I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized what this meant. Alex wasn't who I thought he was, wasn't what I thought he was. He was involved in something big. And I had just played right into his hands. I felt a sense of panic rising up, a sense of fear. What had I just done? What had I just gotten myself into? I looked around the room, trying to think of what to do next. And then I heard the sound of the front door opening. I turned to see the woman standing there, a look of triumph on her face. "It's done," she said. "Alex is taken care of." I nodded, trying to hide my fear. "Good," I said. "Good job." But as I looked into her eyes, I saw something there, something that made my blood run cold. It was a look of deceit, a look of betrayal. And I realized that I was in grave danger. I was in grave danger, and I didn't know what to do. The woman smiled again, a smile that sent shivers down my spine. "You're not who you think you are," she said. "You're not what you think you are." I felt a sense of confusion, a sense of disorientation. What was she talking about? What did she mean? And then, suddenly, everything went black. I came to, groggily opening my eyes to find myself in a dimly lit room. I was lying on a bed, and my head was pounding. I tried to sit up, but a wave of dizziness washed over me, forcing me to lie back down. I closed my eyes and tried to remember how I had gotten there. The woman, the note, Alex, it all came flooding back. I opened my eyes again, determined to get out of there. I slowly sat up, trying not to make any sudden movements. The room was small, with gray walls and a single window high up on one wall. I was alone, but I could hear the sound of footsteps outside the door. I knew I had to get out of there before whoever it was came back. I swung my legs over the side of the bed and stood up, trying to steady myself. The room spun around me, but I took a few deep breaths and managed to calm down. I looked around the room, trying to find a way out. The door was locked, but I saw a small table in the corner with a piece of paper on it. I walked over to the table and picked up the paper, hoping to find some kind of clue. It was a note, written in the same handwriting as the one Alex had dropped. "You're a pawn in a game you don't understand," it read. "You have to get out of here before it's too late." I felt a surge of fear as I read the note. What kind of game was I caught up in? And who was behind it all? I looked around the room again, trying to find any other clues. That's when I saw it, a small key hidden in the corner of the table. I picked it up and walked over to the door, hoping it would fit. I inserted the key into the lock and turned it, hearing the satisfying click of the lock disengaging. I pushed the door open and stepped out into the hallway, looking around cautiously. The hallway was dark and deserted, but I could hear the sound of footsteps coming from the floor above. I knew I had to move fast. I started to run, my heart pounding in my chest. I had no idea where I was going, but I knew I had to get out of there. I ran up the stairs, my legs pumping as I tried to escape. I reached the top of the stairs and saw a door leading outside. I burst through the door and found myself in a dark alleyway. I didn't stop running until I was several blocks away from the building. Finally, I stopped to catch my breath, looking around to get my bearings. I was in an unfamiliar part of town, but I knew I had to keep moving. I started to walk, trying to put as much distance between myself and the mysterious building as possible. As I walked, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I looked around, but saw nothing out of the ordinary. Still, the feeling persisted. I quickened my pace, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew I had to get to the bottom of it. I walked for what felt like hours, my legs aching and my mind racing. Finally, I saw a sign in the distance, a sign that read "Police Station." I felt a surge of relief as I walked towards the station, hoping to find some answers. But as I pushed open the door, I was met with a surprise. The woman was standing there, a smile on her face. "Welcome," she said. "I've been waiting for you." I froze, my heart racing as I stared at the woman. How did she get here? What did she want? I tried to step back, but my feet felt rooted to the spot. The woman took a step closer, her eyes gleaming with a sinister light. "You're a hard man to find," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "But I always get my man." I swallowed hard, trying to think of what to do. I looked around the police station, hoping to see someone, anyone, who could help me. But the station was deserted, the only sound the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. The woman took another step closer, her eyes never leaving mine. "You're in a lot of trouble," she said, her voice low and menacing. "You've been poking your nose into things you don't understand. Things that are best left alone." I shook my head, trying to clear the cobwebs. What was she talking about? What things had I been poking my nose into? The woman smiled again, her eyes glinting with amusement. "You don't remember, do you?" she said. "You don't remember what you did." I felt a surge of fear as I stared at her. What did she mean? What had I done? The woman took another step closer, her eyes never leaving mine. "You've been playing with fire," she said. "And now you're going to get burned." I tried to step back, but my feet felt rooted to the spot. The woman reached out and touched my face, her fingers cold and clammy. "You're a very curious man," she said. "But curiosity can be a deadly sin." I felt a surge of anger as I stared at her. Who was she to threaten me? What did she want from me? I tried to push her away, but she was too strong. She held me in place, her eyes never leaving mine. "You're going to come with me," she said. "And you're going to do exactly as I say." I shook my head, trying to clear the cobwebs. What was going on? What did she want from me? The woman smiled again, her eyes glinting with amusement. "You have no choice," she said. "You're in this now, whether you like it or not." I felt a surge of fear as I stared at her. What had I gotten myself into? What did she want from me? The woman turned and walked away, beckoning me to follow her. I hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to do. But then I followed her, my heart pounding in my chest. I had no idea where we were going, or what would happen when we got there. But I knew one thing for sure, I was in grave danger. As I followed the woman through the deserted streets, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being led into a trap. A trap from which I might not escape. The woman stopped in front of a nondescript building, a building that looked like any other in the city. But as I looked closer, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A sign on the door, a sign that read "Welcome to the Black Room." I felt a surge of fear as I stared at the sign. What was the Black Room? And what did it have to do with me? The woman turned and smiled, her eyes glinting with amusement. "Welcome to your new home," she said. "You're going to be here for a very long time." I felt a chill run down my spine as I stared at the sign. The Black Room. It sounded ominous, foreboding. I didn't want to go in there, didn't want to see what was inside. But the woman just smiled and pushed open the door, beckoning me to enter. I hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to do. But then I took a deep breath and stepped inside. The room was dark, the only light coming from a few flickering candles in the corners. The air was thick with the scent of incense, and I could feel the weight of the room's secrets bearing down on me. The woman led me deeper into the room, her eyes never leaving mine. I could feel her gaze like a physical presence, a cold, calculating weight that made my skin crawl. As we walked, I saw strange objects on the shelves, objects that seemed to be watching me. There were ancient-looking artifacts, strange devices that seemed to be made of human bones. I felt a shiver run down my spine as I realized that I was in a place of dark magic, a place where the rules of the world didn't apply. The woman stopped in front of a large, ornate mirror. She turned to me and smiled, her eyes glinting with amusement. "This is where the truth begins," she said. "This is where you'll see the secrets that have been hidden from you." I felt a surge of fear as I stared at the mirror. What secrets was she talking about? What did she mean? The woman reached out and touched the mirror, her fingers leaving a trail of frost on the glass. As she did, the mirror began to glow, a soft, pulsing light that seemed to be calling to me. I felt a strange sensation, as if I was being pulled towards the mirror. I tried to resist, but it was too late. I was sucked into the mirror, pulled through the glass like a rag doll. I felt a sensation of weightlessness, of floating in midair. And then I saw the truth that had been hidden from me. I saw a figure that looked like me. But it wasn't me. It was someone else, someone who had been living my life. Someone who had been pretending to be me. I felt a surge of shock, of horror. What was going on? Who was this imposter? And why had they been pretending to be me? The mirror seemed to be showing me a different reality, a reality where I was not who I thought I was. I saw myself living a different life, a life where I was a successful businessman with a beautiful wife and 2 children. But it wasn't me. It was someone else, someone who had been pretending to be me. I felt a sense of disorientation, of confusion. What was real? What was not? The mirror seemed to be showing me a different truth, a truth that was opposite to everything I thought I knew. I was trapped in a web of lies, a web that seemed to have no end. And I didn't know how to escape. As I stared into the mirror, I felt my mind reeling with the implications of what I was seeing. The imposter, the fake life, the lies, it was all so overwhelming. But as I looked deeper into the mirror, I saw something that made my blood run cold. The imposter, the fake me, was standing in front of a grave. And on the grave was a name. My name. I felt a wave of grief wash over me, followed by a surge of anger. Who was this person, and why were they pretending to be me? Why were they trying to destroy my life? I turned to the woman, who was still standing beside me, a smug look on her face. You, I spat, my voice shaking with rage. You're behind this. You're the one who's been manipulating me, who's been trying to destroy my life. The woman smiled, a cold, calculating smile. I'm just a facilitator, she said. I'm just a tool. The real mastermind is the one who's been pulling the strings all along. I felt a surge of confusion, followed by a sudden realization. Alex, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. It's Alex, isn't it? The woman nodded, her smile growing wider. Yes, it's Alex. He's the one who's been pretending to be you, who's been trying to destroy your life. I felt a wave of anger wash over me, followed by a sense of determination. I was going to make Alex pay for what he had done. I was going to make him suffer. I turned to the woman, who was still standing beside me. Take me to him, I said, my voice cold and calculating. The woman nodded, and together we walked out of the black room, out of the darkness and into the light. As we walked, I felt a sense of purpose, a sense of determination. I was going to make Alex pay for what he had done. I was going to make him suffer. And as we finally reached the place where Alex was waiting, I felt a sense of satisfaction, a sense of closure. Alex was standing in front of me, a smug look on his face. But as he saw the look on mine, he faltered. He saw the anger, the determination, and he knew that he was in trouble. You, I spat, my voice shaking with rage. You're the one who's been pretending to be me, who's been trying to destroy my life. Alex took a step back, his eyes wide with fear. No, he said, his voice shaking. I can explain. But I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear his excuses, his lies. I just wanted to make him pay. And as I looked at him, I saw the fear in his eyes, the realization that he was in trouble. And I knew that I had won. I had finally won. The woman stepped forward, a smile on her face. It's over, she said. It's finally over. And as she spoke, the world around us began to crumble. The lies, the deceit, the manipulation, it all came crashing down. And as it did, I felt a sense of satisfaction, a sense of closure. I had finally won. I had finally made Alex pay for what he had done. And as I walked away from the wreckage, I knew that I would never forget this moment, this feeling of satisfaction, this feeling of closure. It was the end of a long and difficult journey, but it was also the beginning of a new chapter in my life. A chapter where I was free from the lies, the deceit, and the manipulation. A chapter where I could finally be myself, without fear of being destroyed. And as I walked away, I knew that I would always cherish this moment, this feeling of satisfaction, this feeling of closure.